Alrighty, everyone. Brett Eldredge has released his brand new album, Songs About You, and it is time to talk about it. This is the fifth studio album from Paris, Illinois native Brett Eldredge, seventh if you include his two Christmas albums, and it is an album I have been pacing back and forth over for quite some time now. Historically, I never paid too much attention to Brett Eldredge. I didn't necessarily have anything against him, but his output always felt very commercial. Visually, he was a pretty easy sell as well, so I sort of wrote him off as a radio darling that's gonna get a hit here or there and go about his merry way. That was until July 10th, 2020, almost 2 years ago to the day, when he released his fourth studio album, Sunday Drive, which not only made me take a second look at Brett as an artist, but grew to be one of my favorite albums of all time. I rave about that album whenever I get the chance to. It was my album of the year in 2020, and in the 2 years since, I'm yet to enjoy an album more. And a pretty easy way to make me become very interested in you is by dropping one of the greatest albums I've ever heard. Practically overnight, I became obsessed with Brett Eldredge, but more specifically, where he was going to go after Sunday Drive. Because although the quality of Sunday Drive pranced over any of his previous records, commercially and numerically it didn't possess the same hit power his other records did. As an album, Sunday Drive peaked at number 5 on the US Billboard Top Country charts, which granted isn't poor, but notably lower than his previous records. But where Sunday Drive especially underperformed was in the single department. Although Brett isn't a Luke Combs level hitmaker where everything he releases skyrockets to number 1, it is worth noting the two songs from Sunday Drive that impacted radio peaked lower than Brett's team was most likely hoping for. Gabrielle was the first single pushed in April of 2020 before the album came out, and it peaked at the number 27 spot, and the next single was sent out nearly a year later in March of 2021, and that was Good Day, which only spent 10 weeks on the chart and peaked at number 54. Now at this point I should clarify, I don't mean to make such a big deal of the numbers. I mean, after all, the numbers don't have any effect on me at all. The only people the numbers affect are the musicians, but as a dedicated fan, I'm always interested to see how the numbers will influence the music, which is the one thing that does impact me as a listener. In today's world, it goes without saying that an artist's commercial performance and objective quality don't always line up and don't always have to, but like I said, as a spectator, I was very intrigued to see if the underwhelming reach of Sunday Drive would nudge Brett back into that radio darling character, releasing content more likely to land. But rather, in response, Songs About You sees Brett recklessly push further and further down his own lane, and that was really a joy to see. Because although I don't think Songs About You tops Sunday Drive strictly from a quality perspective, this new record is easily Brett's most experimental record to date, and the experimentation goes down really well here. When Brett first started rolling out teasers for this album, I thought the sonic direction and mood of the album had been pretty clearly established through songs like Holy Water and Want That Back. It seemed as if Songs About You was aiming to be a more beefed up dramatic version of Sunday Drive, with more piano ballads, larger choirs, stronger, more engaging hooks, with a deeper, more serious attitude in comparison to Sunday Drive, which ran more playfully nostalgic. But then when the record finally dropped, all of my predictions were completely spoiled, as this record felt like showing up to a different surprise party every single song. Which, although is one of the album's strengths, it also breeds my one complaint about this record, which I will get to later. As I mentioned, this record really sees Brett throw caution to the wind as he successfully tries his hand at a multitude of different styles and ideas, mostly stemming from more contemporary jazz and blues roots. Take, for example, the opener Can't Keep Up, which is 3 minutes and 9 seconds of emphatic horn sections with intricate driving rhythms, all topped off with Brett's silky vocals just calling everyone to get in a good mood. It sounds like something you'd hear during an opening credit scene to a romantic comedy film based in downtown Chicago. It's got House of Blues written all over it. I've heard some say they would have preferred having the title track open up the record, but personally, I love Can't Keep Up drawing back the curtains of this thing. To me, it reads as an appropriate preparation to get you in the mood for the rest of the album, almost similar to what Silk Sonic did on their record. And sure, while structurally it might be a little scattered, I still really like how Brett chose to open the show here. From the opener onwards, it is full steam ahead on the Songs About You Express, with each stop showcasing a new flair of jazz, blues, country, or old school pop, while lyrically the songs bounce pretty exclusively between opposing ideas of love and heartbreak, like the second track and the title track, Songs About You, which sees Brett trying to get through his standard daily routine, but is constantly getting knocked off balance emotionally by songs reminding him of this girl. The cut is an absolute earworm featuring one of the grooviest guitar licks of the year. The way Brett's voice flows with the bass and the guitars really gives the movement of the song a whole other dimension. Other Love Center cuts include the super suggestively slow What Else You Got. Although I get what this song is going for, in my opinion, the instrumental is a bit bland, which is only further highlighted with the beat that can feel unnaturally slow at times. It always feels like the song is trying to move a little quicker, but is being forced to hold back. So again, although I see what it's trying to do, in practice, I feel like it winds up being the most expendable from the track list. But immediately after, Brett follows the weakest with arguably one of the strongest on the record, Hideaway, which is a completely acoustic song, nothing more than Brett and an acoustic guitar. It starts out mellow and pretty with some simple but gorgeous fingerpicking, but rapidly escalates emotionally as the guitars turn to strumming and Brett really levels up his vocals, singing about simply finding a place to hide away. But despite having the most raw instrumental and one of the most standard lyrical concepts, the way it gets delivered is what makes it stand out amongst all the other intricately arranged and written songs on the record. It's a great example of when a song needs nothing more than its soul. Other more romantic moments include Home Sweet Love, which is a pleasant blend of contemporary and R&B. Wait Up For Me is effectively What Else You Got but levels above. The somber piano lays a really nice foundation for Brett and the accompanying choir to demand all of the attention. The song just builds and builds and builds with Brett's voice getting stronger and stronger while the additions of the choir get bigger and bigger until the climax of the song that feels like a subtle ascension into heaven. If I had one piece of constructive criticism, it's that I think the song could have been even bigger on the back half, really spiked the climax a bit higher, but as it is, it's still one of my favorites being offered here. I just think they had the opportunity to take it even higher. Where Do I Sign is probably the most upbeat cut on the entire record with its grooving piano, the slapping percussion, and colorful guitar additions. It's catchy, it's overflowing with personality, lyrically with Brett offering his all to this girl, and I love the whole catch of the song. If you're looking for someone to put it on the line, tell me baby, where do I sign? I just love the way he bends those words so they apply emotionally as much as they do to literally signing a contract to supply his love. Holy Water was the first teaser we got from this album, which runs in a similar vein to Wait Up For Me, a very serious romantic piano ballad with some additions from the choir, which, as I work my way through this review, I'm realizing just how much I love the additions of the choir. It's not something you hear very often in country music, and while I would strongly hesitate to call this Brett Eldredge album country, it's a tool that only really fits in very specific ways, but when it does fit, I think the choir really has a special way of enhancing a song and giving it a lot more juice. Like when Cody Johnson used it on the closer of his Human album, By Your Grace. But anyways, as I said, this record is filled with love songs, but also a decent offering of other emotions surrounding relationships, whether that be nostalgia, heartbreak, betrayal, or healing. Like the third track, I Feel Fine, which is this toxic, haunting blues cut where Brett is just completely dismissing any potential sadness after a breakup. Brett is basically just warning this girl that karma's going to come around her way, but in the meantime, and when that karma eventually hits, he's perfectly content. He's fine. It's a shade that I wasn't expecting to hear from Brett, but I love that I did. The instrumental is so gloomy and sassy. If Yeet didn't exist, I am sure this would have been Gru's entrance song in the new Minion movie. It's just got that purely evil energy about it. Get Out of My House is a weird one in the sense that it is quite literally Brett saying he's had enough of this girl and telling her to get out of his house, yet it sounds so happy. It's like, why? Want That Back is easily one of the most compelling cuts on the record, yearning for his younger days with his young lover. It's backed by arguably the most anthemic instrumental on the record with its massive drum shots and huge harmonies. The feelings of nostalgia and this craving for the past are what make it feel so reminiscent of the Sunday Drive era. But like I said earlier, it's just beefed up in the best of ways, making it feel like a natural musical evolution of the ideas introduced on that 2020 album. Then lastly, the record closes off with one of the more interesting cuts, Where the Light Meets the Sea, a very soft, touching closer with Brett talking to this girl after a mutual breakup, explaining how he was able to find inner peace and then recommending the same to this girl. As for my closing thoughts, I only really have one criticism of this record, but even that criticism is a double-edged sword. Despite the quality of each route Brett chooses to go down, the record does feel a little disorganized, because although all of these songs are focused around the different facets of a relationship, the tracklist is ordered in such a way that the cohesion feels rather lost. I mean, come on. How are you going to go from Can't Keep Up to Songs About You to I Feel Fine? And then go back to What Else You Got? With the exception of the last track mentioned, those songs are all great individually, but listening through this album from front to back, the ideas really butt heads, and as a result, the listening experience, in my opinion, is a little tainted by the stark changes of emotion. It just doesn't end up flowing that well, which is disappointing because the pieces of a great puzzle are all here, they're just not put together in the right order, and because of that, the final image doesn't look as good as I think it could. But again, other than what else you got, Brett really came through with another solid record. I love that he continued to push himself further and make the kind of music he wants, because it is really clear to see that Brett is following his own arrow at this point in his career. This is by far the most loose he's ever been on a record. Songs About You is Brett enjoying complete creative freedom, and that freedom is what led to all the fantastic moments we got on this record. Rating-wise, I'm going to give this record an 8.5 out of 10, a fantastic album that will most likely make an appearance during my Year Rewind videos. Anyways, that is all I've got for you guys today. Sure, let me know what you thought of this album in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, a like really does help the channel out. If you're new, be sure to subscribe for more country music content. Links to my Instagram, Discord, and podcast are all down below in the description. Feel free to check those out as you wish. And yeah, until next time, I hope you all have a great day.